How is everyone? I actually don't need a microphone because I could just talk to everybody. So we're going to kick off. Now, one of the things that I do try to do is honor and respect people's time. So we do try to make sure that we run on schedule. As you may know, there are 3 key sessions that are going to happen from the auditorium. From what I can see, everyone here has workshop passes, so the master classes will be after each conversation. One thing to keep in mind, guys, today you are in City Gates Conference Center. There's no drinks allowed in the auditorium, and also we do not have any fire drills scheduled for today. If you do hear an alarm, you'll just go down the steps. Don't use the elevator. If you do hear an alarm, you will go down the steps, go through the front door where you came in, or if the closest door is one of the side doors, you would be able to go out if an alarm has gone on, and you will just congregate across the street. I'm just going to get this lectern. Okay, so what I'm going to do for the next couple of minutes up until we start, so we have about 10 minutes, I'm going to give someone or a couple of people an opportunity to come up here and talk about their business. Not panelists, because you're going to be doing that anyway. Is there anyone here that has a business that would like to talk about their business? Because that's what business people do. You look like you, come on, don't be shy. No one that's running a business should be afraid when given an opportunity. This is being streamed. This will be rebroadcast. We're going to chop it up and put it out there. So, in 2 minutes or less, please tell us about your business.
Good morning. It's a delight to be here. My name's Paul from Paul Henry Architects. We are a multi-award-winning firm of architects based here in East London. We do planning permission, building regs, contract administration for all projects. We specialize in auditorium design, so in what you're into today is what we do. And residential from 1 unit to 100 units. Who do you know who knows an excellent firm of architects who can deliver in terms of planning, building regs, and on-site? Because that's what we do. Paul Henry Architects, thank you.
Good job. So, who can tell me who he is and what he does? Raise your hand. This is an interactive event. Who is he and what does he do? Victoria. Architect. Who else can tell me what's his name? Paul. Okay, who's next? This is a business event, and we have shy business people. Like I say every year, guys, the people, you can come up, sir. The people who are here that are afraid to talk about their business, there's someone out there who doesn't run a business as well as you do, but is on it and is marketing their business every opportunity they get. So if you could introduce yourself, say who you are and what your business is.
Thank you. Hello, hi. My name's Steve. I work for the local London Careers Hub. And just think about when you were 15, 16, did you have the information you needed to make your choices when you were at school? My job is to help people have that information about work, because schools are very good at promoting academic routes for 16-year-olds. They don't know quite as much about vocational routes. And so what I'm trying to do is to bring people from business into schools' careers programs to help them get the information they need about work. Because academia is not for everybody. And people can sometimes go through the vocational route and they find it's a much better fit for them than going on to A-levels, university, etc. So my role is to get people, what I want to do is bring people like you into schools' careers programs to give them the information they need about work opportunities and work options for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So who is he and what does he do? Somebody. Anybody. You know, all right, everybody knows this from school, that thing where when you don't want to be called on, you look down. Never do that. That's just a magnet to be called on. So always make eye contact and look super confident, then no one will call on you. So who is he and what does he do? Yep. And what I heard is he brings business people into schools, hint, hint. So what potentially could any of you talk to him about? Exactly, exactly. So one of the things that I do want to cover off in the morning is I want to talk about networking. I want to talk about the importance of networking, and even more so, the importance of face-to-face networking. I'm old enough to remember before the internet. I'm also old enough to remember before COVID. And one of the things that I think did happen during COVID is we've got very used to using screens and let me Zoom you. Like, people in my office will Zoom me, and I'm like, but you're right there? Or you could have just called me because you're not sharing your screen anyway. But one of the things about networking is don't network when you need something. That's not the only time that you should network. So don't wait until you need to connect with someone to build your business to start networking. As a business owner and as someone who has a product or a service, you should be your best salesperson. You should always have a card. You should have your pitch ready at all times, because you never know when you're going to get an opportunity to talk to the person that can take your business to the next level. So one of the things that I really want to stress to people, make sure you attend networking events, make sure that you're prepared, make sure that you're interested in other people, because networking, one of the biggest put-offs for me at networking events is that person that's, hi, my name is, I do this, and never asks me about my business, never asks me about me. I think it's Maya Angelou who said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And when you feel like someone values you and is having a conversation with you about your business and wants to know about you, and after that conversation can actually remember who you are, what you do, and potentially what they can do for you. There's the laws of reciprocation. People will give back to people who have given to them. I used to be a member of BNI. Who here is a member of BNI? Who's heard of BNI? Big fan of BNI. One of my biggest gripes in BNI was I didn't like how most people invited me to the meetings. And I used to be the chapter trainer. So I used to, and I'd say, guys, it's not a cult. You don't have to be covert about, I'm going to invite you to this thing next week to talk about your business. I'm just talking about me. I'm just saying that's what put me off for years and years and years and years. I never joined BNI because I felt like they didn't give me enough information. They're like, oh, you get to come and talk about your business, but they didn't tell me that in some chapters I'm going to have to wait 2 hours because it's a really big chapter, okay? But BNI is an amazing networking opportunity. One of the things that, and I'm not in BNI anymore, so it's not like I get a commission or anything for it, but if you're running a business, I would say, and you have an opportunity to visit a BNI, or if you have an opportunity and you have the type of business where it's actually useful to join BNI, because some of the things that I got from BNI is every week you have to talk about your business. And because you have to pay to be a part of BNI, the people in your chapter are serious business people. And then every week you're going to learn something new because people bring different things, training and different information. But the other thing I liked about it, it forced me to be more organized. Because you're going to meet every week, and if you don't, you get the ruler. You get the ruler on the hand. So anyone in here, if you haven't heard of BNI, everyone that's in BNI, raise your hand. See one of these people. See one of these people. It's not a cult. You go, they're not going to force you to join, but it's a really quick way of expanding your network. And like my chapter had about 22 people in it. By being a member of BNI, I had 21 advocates for my business that every week were able to go out there and talk about my business and refer people to me. Who would find that beneficial, having 21 or 22 or 20 or 30 people every week out there with the ability to talk about your business? Raise your hand. Okay, so you need to talk to someone from BNI. But with the networking, as I said, just make sure that when you're networking, you find out some things about the person. Under-promise, over-deliver. So if you tell someone you're going to call them, call them. One of the challenges that I've had at bigger events sometimes, we go to these really big events, they excel, and I'm not saying you shouldn't go, You go to these really big events and you come away with 15, 20, 30 business cards. You don't even remember anything about the people. You call them, they don't remember anything about you. So what I want to do is encourage everyone today to be deliberate in getting to know someone, getting to understand what their business does. And in your mind, this is one of my superpowers. In my mind, I have like this Rolodex thing where I can meet someone, they can tell me something about their business or about their service, and I can think of someone I can connect them with. So what I want to be able to do is be that person that I can connect people. I'm not asking for a commission, but if I can be valued by people as someone that you can go to and get connections with other people, I bring value to them, and just through the laws of reciprocation, they'll want to add value to me. So I appreciate everyone being here. Could I ask anyone that's here to be in the middle, unless you're a panelist, and towards the front? I am going to introduce the host for the first two panels, which is Victoria. The first panel we're going to do is about business startup. She will introduce the panelists. So this first session is 45 minutes. You guys have been really shy. You guys have been really shy. And I would encourage you to ask the questions. You've invested your Saturday when you could have been home with your family. You've invested your money. The way that you will get something out of that investment is by doing something. It's not Usha or Dwayne's job to get you contacts today. Okay? So make sure that your investment of time, your investment of money pays off because you're proactive. Because what will happen, and it happens every year, I get calls after the event, oh, I met so-and-so, can I have their information? No, you cannot have their information. You should have got their information when you spoke to them, but we do have a directory. Everyone that's registered will get a follow-up email to thank you for coming. And if we could just bring Victoria to the stage, and we could give her a round of applause, please. And then Victoria will introduce the panelists.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. As Anthony said, it's a Saturday morning, so thank you for dedicating your time here. It's very relevant to what this topic's going to be about, starting up businesses. One of your key attributes is giving dedication to your business through rain, through sun, through snow. But anyway, my name's Victoria Ajikum, and I am a co-founder of On Point Property Management Limited and the Ghana Property and Lifestyle Expo. I've been working in property for 15 years, and it has been a journey. But enough of me. I'm going to now call up our panelists, because it's going to be a very good discussion right now. So can I have up first Hutab? And Simon? For me? Cakes, and Roja. Roja. Apologies. Okay, so I'll be handing over the mic to Hutab, and you can tell everyone who you are.
Hi guys, my name is Uday Punawala from McNair's Accountants. I am a chartered certified accountant with over 16 years of experience. I generally deal with small to medium-sized businesses with a focus of owner-managed businesses, and I'm grateful to be here as a panelist, and if you have any questions related to business and taxes, I'll be able to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, can I have Simon up now, please?
Thank you, Victoria. Good morning. I would like to say, first of all, thank you very much indeed for the honour and pleasure of being not only a panellist, but I'll be doing a workshop a little bit later on today. My name's Simon Lewin. I am representing Inspirational Training Solutions, or ITS for short. We are a business support agency. Our focus with the dedicated team that we've got is to ensure that businesses grow, develop, have a clear brand identity, and ultimately earn the money they deserve. I started the business in 2011, and we cover Essex as well as Central London, and we've got a few sites outside of those particular areas. From our perspective, My own personal journey, I've had approximately 20 years in corporate sales, where I've had the pleasure of running a business within a business, my own sales team. I've had around 15 years experience of working with varied SMEs in different sectors. I don't proclaim to know everything, but there's things that probably can help you on your journey, wherever you want your journey to go to. In many respects, when it comes to networking, when it comes to things like events like this, I wear two hats. Myself trying to promote my business, but also I like to share my experiences. There's no reason you should reinvent the wheel. As Steve Jobs, who was with Apple, as some of you might know, if it was easy, everyone would run a business. It's difficult. Why go through those challenges if you can have people to help you? My parting point is there's a wealth of experience in this room. Capitalise on it today. Try and take one golden nugget. That's a BNI thing that I've stolen. So golden nugget, some of you will be familiar with. And if you can use that to be even better at what you do, then you've achieved something. Also, maybe come outside of your comfort zone. Take something that you don't do, makes you competitively advantageous. Something that makes you flexible and agile, so you're better at what you do. Make sure you network, get your business cards out, and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Okay, on to Fumi.
Hello, I'm Fumi Papula, Director of FP Associates. I work with small businesses, individuals, charities, and I've been doing that for about 30 years now. At this stage, you're supposed to look and say that you don't look that old. But anyway, I'll let that go. I deal with businesses from the embryonic stage, when people are just thinking about it, all the way through to when they actually get the business up and running. So we talk about things like cash flow, talk about compliance, and all the other things associated with starting up the business, just to make sure that things start up right. And then I'm like the proud mother watching this business grow. As a chartered tax advisor, I also work with individuals and with other accountants when people have the misfortune of having a tax investigation. Having a tax investigation with all those brown envelopes coming through with threats and warnings is kind of like as bad as a bad toothache. So whilst I might not be able to make the toothache go away, you know, like the dentist that gives you root canal but tries to make it as gentle as possible, that's me. I try and work through with you to try and get the best result possible with the HMRC. I'm hoping that as more and more people come to seminars and things like this and get more informed, then there will be less tax investigations that are as a result of misinformation that's been taken on board, especially from the internet. So I look forward to catching up with you later. Thanks.
Thank you. And last but not least, can we have Katie?
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name's Kate Caruth. 6 years ago, I quit my job. I took the massive gamble of starting my business, Creative Words. Now, the idea was I was going to have a quiet life as a writer. I can hear the panelists all giggling behind me because they know how unquiet running a business is. And what happened to begin with was I would write some content for a small business owner and I'd say, here's my beautifully written content. And they'd say, oh, thank you very much. And then they'd pop it in their in tray and they'd be too busy to do anything with it. So all this content that I was creating was getting stuck. And that was when the idea of content alchemy came to me. So my business, Creative Words, it writes beautiful, bespoke, authentic content for business owners. And then we set it up as well. So that rather than you as a business owner have got all of that stuff stuck in your in tray, it's out there, generating leads, helping express who you are as a business. Now, we do all kinds of content. So we'll do blogs, we'll do books, we do one single email for you. We'll do a really complex email funnel if that's what you want. We'll do websites, we'll do brochures. And pretty much anything that we would consider the written word, we've probably done some of it. So that's who we are. I call it content alchemy because what we do is we take your material and we transform it into content gold.
Thank you. Right, so here's the fun part now. So we're going to start the discussion and we're going to start off with Hitab. You have 16 years experience in accountancy. So my first question to you is someone who's starting up a business. They always want to know what's the difference between limited and a sole trader. Can you explain?
Yeah, so generally, if someone's starting up a business and they are not sure where they want to go, whether to start off as a sole trader or a limited company, especially every few years, the HMRC, the finance minister comes up and he keeps changing the rules and regulations. Obviously, it keeps changing from time to time. A few years ago, limited company would have been perfect for someone who's starting off. And also, it all depends on a lot of things so one of the biggest ones is liability. If you start up a business and something goes wrong, question is whether you want to be if it's a limited company, your liability is restricted to the capital you've invested in there. However, if you are a sole trader, your liability, they can come and attack, someone can come after you personally. Another big factor is why people tend to go limited company is also the credibility that it gives you compared to a sole trader. And another biggest factor is people think about is tax. When you're a limited company, you get a lot of tax planning options, whereas if you're a sole trader, you're generally restricted. But saying that, if you're a sole trader, the tax is much more simpler. So if someone's just starting off, a sole trader would be ideal to start off their business. Once they get to a certain level of turnover profits, then they might consider going limited. And the last point I would say is also the administration element. Where you're a sole trader, it's much more simple to do it compared to a limited company, because when you start off a limited company, there are more taxes, more compliance with Companies House, HMRC, and so forth. But I think that kind of gives you an idea, but obviously, how do I say it? There's not it's not a simple answer. It depends on everyone's preferences, everyone's risk ability. So if you are thinking of starting a business and you're not sure where do I head or where am I now, then probably come and speak to me later.
Thank you for that. Is there many people here that actually run a business at the moment? Can I have a show of hands? And is there anyone thinking of starting up a business? Okay, so it's definitely good to talk to a good accountant, because an accountant can really direct you to the first vital steps of your operations. So he's the man to see. Right, so for me, right, I've heard you can save thousands of pounds in tax by transferring your properties into a limited company. Is this true?
Hi. I've heard so much on the internet, and a lot of it is very speculative. So how many people rent properties here, are involved in the rental market? Okay, yeah, there's a few. So what's happened, just as a bit of background for those who are not, what's happened is the HMRC have changed the rules with regards to how you can claim mortgage interest. And as a result of that, whenever any rule changes and tax increases, then there's always somebody going to try and find a way to keep their tax down. When they changed the rules about how you can claim mortgage interest, they still allowed you to claim through a company. So a lot of people are trying to now transfer their properties into companies. There are a lot of schemes out there that tell you can just do it, but there are serious tax consequences to it. So my suggestion would be, if you're going to do anything like that, just make sure that you get proper advice. You might find a lot of schemes, not just with properties, but with other things, where people say you can save tax in this way, and they have a barrister's advice confirming that it's okay. Just be very wary of these schemes, because one of the problems is you're promised a lot, you pay a lot, and if it does not work out, you'll find that the company that sold it to you might disappear, and you are left with the bill. Each of us are responsible for our own tax. Any tax planning that you want to do, I would suggest that you speak to an accountant and make sure you're clear about what you're doing, and make sure that you're clear about the pluses and the minuses and the potential consequences of whatever you're doing.
And I want to add something to that, in the sense that I am in several property WhatsApp groups, and I'm in several various WhatsApp groups. And these things are good to open you up to different concepts, but don't get your tax advice from a WhatsApp group. Don't get your tax advice from a TikTok video. Pay professionals for their services. We all run businesses, and one of the things that I learned early on in life is businesses make other businesses work. So you can't expect that someone should come to you and exchange their money for your service, but you speak to one of these professionals up on the stage, and they're supposed to just give everything away to you. Specifically when it comes to taxes and things of those natures. I've seen a lot of TikTok videos, and one of my red flags is when you're talking about finance, if someone ever says always or never. Always be mindful. If someone is saying always or never, you should probably look into that. Back over to you, Victoria.
And again, for me, has 30 years experience, so definitely seek out a professional when asking about taxes, anything financial, to be honest. So, moving the mic on to Simon. Simon, how can I manage businesses and liabilities?
I think from what's been said previously, the most important thing is surround people that have got experience. Unfortunately, when we start a business, we have a limited budget and we can't always cut our cloth according to our means. But in the short term, you'll pay twice if you don't have the right advice. It is important to have legal representation, accountants for me, Hutab, in terms of giving you the right advice about how your business should be set up. It's important to have the right insurance as well. The amount of people that I come across that have gone based on price. Personal experience is, apparently at one point I was a pilot instructor. And then because the renewal had come through, I checked it and said, no, I don't do that. Why have you done that? And if I just accepted it, then I wouldn't have been covered. Also as well, depending on the type of work that you're actually in, it is essential to look at accreditation and policies. Policies also including terms and conditions, whoever you're working with. Because from your point of view, if you don't get paid and you do the work, that's just going to put you in a very, very difficult position. The other thing that I would also say is sometimes people have a joint idea and they have a partner. No one goes into a relationship in the hope that it's going to fail. But I've sat in meetings and asked, have you got a partnership agreement? And the blank look that people have got on their faces, what does that mean? We like each other, we love each other, whatever it is. But people's directions suddenly can change in business. One person might want something, another person might want something else. So you need to have some sort of partnership agreement that protects you. It might even need to go into a will. God forbid if someone passes, what's left with half of the company? Does it go to the family? Does it automatically go to the surviving partner? It's things like that which we can overlook because we're very passionate about what we do. We want to sell our product, our service, and we want to make money. But as I said, in the long run, if you get caught out, your insurance policy might not cover you. If you've got the wrong insurance policy, if you don't have the right things in place, you're putting yourself at risk. And you should avoid that at any cost.
You know, that's fundamental points you've just made there. You know, going into business with a partner, it's like a marriage. You're going to see each other 24/7. You will have conversations morning to evening, and it can actually go into a lot of your personal life. I run my company with my sister, and yes, we have our moments, but as soon as we get into the office, we literally put on professional mode. By saying that, some of the insurances we do have is one of them is the key man insurance. That's such a vital insurance to have for a business, and that entails if, again, one person falls ill, who will take over that the director's role. So key man insurance is definitely a vital insurance to have in a business, and people do. I don't think many people really know about that, and it's not spoken enough about the key man insurance. So that's definitely one element of insurance to have in a business. So we're going over to Kate. So let's hear your experience. So you do content writing.
Yeah.
So starting up a content writing business can seem quite confusing. How does a new business work out, and what content is right for them? So if they wanted to start a business, what is the right content someone should use?
Yeah, good. So good question. It's a massive field. Content's enormous. And when you're starting out, you'll have lots of those WhatsApp groups telling you, do this, do that, do the other. I thought the most helpful thing to do is start off with a definition that's actually really helpful. So the definition I use for content is anything that adds value to an audience. Feel free to write that down. It was coined by Andrew Davis, who wrote Pride and Prejudice. Content is anything that adds value to an audience. Why is that so helpful? Because it tells you everything you need to know about figuring out what content is right for you. And it starts with the audience. Who is your target for any content you're creating? And let me use an example to help you understand that. So I have a client called James. And what James does is he sells mobility chairs. So the kind of things that do rising, and they do reclining and all of this kind of thing. And they're particularly geared to people who have mobility issues. So who is James's target audience? Old people. So what is James's primary content? He does demonstrations in care homes. That's his primary audience. So he goes into care homes and he says, here's one of my chairs, sit in it, isn't it lovely? And therefore, to back that up, he then needs to have posters to advertise that he's coming and leaflets for people to take things away. That's his primary audience. James has a second audience. Anyone want to hazard a guess who that second audience might be? Yes, families. People like me. If my mother picks up the phone, she's 92, and picks up the phone and says, this lovely man came over and I'm going to buy a chair for £3,000, I need to check that it isn't a very nice person who's just taken £3,000 from my mother. So that's how we've written the website and the brochures and everything else that supports it. That's written for his secondary audience. So if you know who your targets are, and there may be several, and you understand the journey they go on, it gives you a really good idea on the kind of content that you need. And also, by understanding that audience, where they might hang out, which tells you which platforms to use as well. So that content is anything that adds value to an audience, really gives you that clue. And that means if going for a cup of coffee and having a chat is the best way to connect with your audience, do that. That's absolutely fine.
Thank you. That's really insightful. And as he says, the power of writing correct content, it really speaks volumes. It's really speaking to your target customer. And, you know, the power of writing correct content is vital. Now, we've had some amazing nuggets said to us this morning. I'm now going to open a mic to any questions you may have to any of the panelists. Anyone? Don't be scared. Do you have any questions this morning? Okay, I will throw the mic back to you guys again. So, you know, you was talking about a threshold in terms of, let's just throw this to Hitab, in terms of accountancy. So, for example, you know, people automatically think, I'm going to start charging VAT on my invoices. What's the threshold which a company needs to be at in terms of what turnover should a company be turning over to start charging VAT?
So the official figure is 85,000. Once a company's turnover reaches 85,000, they have no choice, and by law they are required to get VAT registered. However, you can get VAT registered beforehand if you think you're going to make a lot of claims also for the VAT. So there is an option to get VAT registered even before you get to 85K. So there's nothing stopping you from being VAT registered from day one of your business. However, that is not advisable, or actually it depends on who's your market audience. So if it's B2B, and if most of your businesses who you're supplying your services or goods to are VAT registered, then probably it makes sense for you to be VAT registered. And also, being VAT registered makes your business more credible too, to the customers. Now, the other way around, if your customers are B2C, yeah, where it's individuals and so forth, they don't like to pay VAT. It is a fact. And at that point of time, you may think, okay, I'm not going to be VAT registered until I get to my threshold. And that's probably when you say, okay, when you reach that 85K, there's no choice, but you have to be VAT registered to the. I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's great. So when you start turning over 85,000, it's kind of like I'm turning over 85,000. It's kind of like a nice show that business is progressing to the next level. So thank you for that.
Yep.
For me, could for me have that? Yeah. Thank you. Transferring tax. So tax is the big T, which everyone gets scared of. So for example, if you have a property that, like for example, your parents live in, they want to hand over the property before they pass, what tax is implicated in that? Is there a tax to that, or is it just a tax in the event of the parent passing? What's that situation?
So in a situation like that, the first thing I would do is say, sit down with somebody and get clear advice, because there are a number of tax implications. Firstly, whenever you transfer any asset, you need to consider capital gains tax. Now, in the case of the house that you're living in, there is no capital gains tax, so there wouldn't be a problem if it's their house. However, the next thing they'd need to consider is inheritance tax. What a lot of people used to do is transfer their property to their children or whoever they wanted to in order to save on inheritance tax when they pass on. If it's a house and you continue living in that house, then it's what is called a gift with reservation. So you don't save on inheritance tax. So, you can do it, but you would not save on inheritance tax. And now with the increase in care costs as well, you need to consider the implications for that as well. So it's something that you need to have a discussion in terms of why you want to do it, and it's then easier to advise people on how best to do it, because it might be different advice you'd give to different people, depending on the motivation for doing that.
Thank you for that. And just a quick other question to elaborate on that. So if you are a company, you want to acquire property under a limited business, how many years does it take to set up a company to start purchasing property and putting the assets into that?
It's actually a matter of hours, not years.
Okay.
You can set up a company more or less instantly. One thing I would say is that if you are setting up a company, there are certain what they call SIC codes, industry codes. It's the reference that you've got on a company that indicates what you're doing. And if you are setting a company up with a view to purchasing properties, especially if you're going to need a mortgage, then you do need to make sure that you use the correct codes. Otherwise, you can have a problem when you want to purchase the mortgage. But in terms of setting up the company, that is very quick.
Okay, perfect. Do we have any questions? And just two. Okay, can we have a mic over to this gentleman?
Could you raise your hand? Who had the question?
Hi, my name is Charles. This question is to Hutai. So how can payments be handled to employees, subcontractors, and subsidiaries that are offshore in the most tax-effective way?
Sorry, could you repeat that again? Just so I get it clear.
See, how can a company, for example, a company is registered in the UK, does business in the UK, is running business in the UK. So how can they handle payments to employees, subcontractors, and subsidiaries in the most tax-effective way?
Oh, so you mean overseas?
Yeah, overseas.
I mean, basically you would be probably getting an invoice from them, isn't it? So if they're subcontractors or so forth.
So they're your employees, you're based in the UK as a company and you're registered in the UK, and what's the most tax-effective way to pay your employees? That are outside of the UK? And subsidiaries outside of the UK. That could be for either of you guys.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit complex. It can't be.
For something like that kind of setup, I would seriously advise that you have a one-to-one conversation with an accountant. I think I can go into all manner of things. And just for people generally, normally if you're paying somebody, then you need to register a pay-as-you-earn scheme and pay them under pay-as-you-earn so that tax and national insurance can be deducted. There are certain complications if the company or the individuals are based overseas, but that is more of a one-to-one conversation, if that's okay.
Is that the question you wanted answered, or is it slightly a bit more? Is it? Sure, okay, great. Do we have any more questions? Oh, yes, lady. I'll just get the mic. Okay, so it will be 1 and then 2, 3.
Thank you. So my question is, from your professional experience, to put in the properties into a limited company, generally, is it more beneficial for a portfolio landlord or people who rent out, for example, just 1 or 2 properties? Will it still benefit them?
For me?
Is this to?
I think
for me? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now, putting properties into a limited company, if you're buying a new property, then the general advice is to buy in a limited company now. Generally, it's more tax advantageous to do so. If you already have a portfolio of properties, then transferring it into a limited company can trigger all sorts of tax charges. For example, you can trigger a capital gains tax charge. You have to consider stamp duty as well. Reason for that is a limited company is a separate entity to you as an individual. Now, in some instances, there is some tax planning that can be done where it can be transferred and you can mitigate those taxes. Normally, it's for a larger portfolio. We'd normally save from about 6 to 10 properties. And I'll just say generally now, in order to do that, there's certain reliefs that can be claimed. And the way those reliefs work is it's assumed that you're working on those properties. So it's a business rather than an investment. And there are a certain number of hours that you're expected to work on in your property business in order for that to work. But it's one of those things. I know there's a lot of things that are being sold online, and you've got, like barristers confirming that it's okay. But my serious advice to you would be to have a one-to-one conversation, discuss your portfolio. We'd need to take into account the cost of the properties, how much they're valued at now. So there are some calculations that would need to be done to give you or any other person, like an accurate response to that question. Does that answer your question?
Yes, my question was mainly for people who are looking to purchase a property, actually, because some people, they're looking to grow their portfolio. I understand, yes, you mentioned they can do it in a limited company. But if, for example, someone says, I just want to buy one house, one extra, one buy-to-let, for example, for my child, for the future,
Yeah.
and leave it as one. I'm not looking to grow the portfolio. So will it be still beneficial to those people to do it in limited company?
In that instance, I would say, once again, generally, yes, but it would depend, because it would depend on, are you planning to leave the funds in the company? Are you planning to take them out? In which case there's tax consequences. So it's one of those things where I would normally suggest that you have a discussion in terms of why you want to do that, and then people can let you know the tax consequences of what you want to do.
And if I could add something, these are really good questions, and the third panel is property professionals. So the third panel will have an accountant, so the third seminar will have an accountant there, and these will be, it's all about property, the third panel, whereas this is a little bit more about startup. And so I'm glad that we've started to unpack the property discussion. So that's a really good teaser for everybody to come for that third session. So that's going to be hosted by the Smart Landlords Group, and they specifically deal with property questions, portfolio managers, portfolio landlords, etc. Over to you, Victoria.
Okay, there was a lady just there in the
And please hold the mic up.
Oh, sorry, there's one just behind you, and then the lady in front, so you'll be after.
Hi, my name is Yemi. Could you please elaborate on social enterprise and limited companies? Just basic comparisons, please. Thank you.
Do you have a specific person for me? Okay.
Okay. So there are a range of companies that can be set up. So generally speaking, there are different vehicles that you can use. Apart from self-employed, limited company, you've got partnerships. You've got the social enterprise companies as well. And these were set up for those businesses that are not necessarily for personal profit. They engage in the community as well. And so if you're trying to raise funds or engage with the community, because you are a social enterprise company, it's easier to engage with the community on that basis. In terms of the tax and everything, it's still similar to a limited company.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Yeah, great. And then to the lady in front of you.
Hi, I'm Amreen. I have a question for Hutaib. So for a limited company, what expenses can I put through my business?
So generally, you can put any business expenses are obviously allowable, and you can put it through the business. Say if you're working from home, you can also put use of phone home, your mobile cost, because that's purely assuming that's your business phone. And also you can claim some of the internet that you use in the house and so forth. Apart from that, there are certain expenses which I think a lot of people might not be aware of. Would be if you are making money, you can start putting pensions through the business, which is really good because it's all allowable expense, and it basically can write off your profits down to, I think the allowance is 60,000 for the year, but yeah, you can put it how much ever you want. So if you even make, say, 30,000, you can put 10,000 into pension and reduce your tax by that much.
That's a good question.
Ola has a question.
Yeah, it's a question for Kate. I've experimented with, as a small business, experimented with using blogs and using blogs to keep my customers up to date on, like, changes in the industry and etc. But I tend to find the longer ones don't get read. But then also there's the option to send them lots of emails, like a newsletter. But then, everyone gets tons of emails nowadays. Is there a way that you've seen to work for small businesses to create a community, but then also keep your customers informed?
What a good question. So first of all, I'm sorry, but there's no silver bullet. So I can't just say, oh, yes, do it this way, and it'll always work. Because it depends on your business, it depends on your audience. Blogs are very much a slow burn. And for everybody here, if you think about it, most of us do not go to someone's website to read their blogs every month. So that's when a newsletter might come in. So I send out a monthly letter saying, here's my latest blog. And that will drive traffic to the blog, and then they'll read it. But the main reason that people come to your blog is because they have asked a question of Google, and Google has said, this ranks, and it pops up. So the kinds of blogs that are therefore most effective tend to be blogs that are answering questions, particularly if the title is a question. How can I make my blogs more effective? If that's the title of my blog, every time someone types that into Google, Google will rank it. So, and there's an extremely good book by Marcus Sheridan called They Ask You Answer, which goes all into exactly how you make this work. So I do really recommend that as a book if you're thinking about doing regular blogging. But it's very much thinking about what are the questions that I get asked, what are the questions that people might type into Google, and then writing your blogs around that. And then that will then help with your general Google ranking, which then drives traffic towards you. It's certainly not, blogs tend not to be something where someone says, oh, I like this blog, I'm going to buy the service or product from this person. It's very much a more supportive piece. Does that help?
Okay, great, thank you. One more person? Yes.
Hi. So my question is to Simon. As part of the work that you, or the business that you run, do you also help start-up businesses with potentially looking for grants or any kind of sort of government-related, I'll say discounts, but money in or injections or tax efficiency solutions? Is that something that is covered or that you'd look into?
The short answer is yes. The team that we've got focuses on things like tendering. So if you're looking to win big contracts and you are tender ready, then we can help you on that front. In terms of the CIC side of things, the unfortunate thing is there's more CICs forming, and the pot of money available is either significantly less or, best case scenario, about the same it was maybe 5 years ago. So the process that we would go through in terms of helping a business, if we take a CIC or a charitable type organisation, is first of all to make sure that they are grant ready. Because if you were looking to invest in someone doing something in your house, you wouldn't just get them to come round and give them £20,000 to renovate your property without doing your due diligence. And what you're doing by applying for a grant is saying, hi, we're here, trust us and give us some money. You need to be strong enough and have a brand identity that shows that you've got a track record, you have the ability to deliver, and that you will use the money wildly with the maximum impact to the community, potentially, with what you intend to do. So we'd go through the process of making sure that you were grant ready, having the right policies, procedures, with a view then to helping you. If you want us to write the grant, we can help you with that. We have a grant specialist. Alternatively, we can educate you so you can be taught how to write the grant application yourself.
Thank you. Well, it's been a great discussion, and the time has reached its final call for us. But please do connect with the panel speakers today, and just again fire through any further questions you have. They are the professionals, they have the experience and knowledge. So please do connect with them after this session.
Thank you, Victoria. And I just want everyone to give our panelists a round of applause. So everybody that came should have a magazine, Expo magazine, as well as the running order. Please familiarize yourself with the running order. I would encourage everybody that has any general startup questions or wants to know more about startup to go to the 4th floor now. You'll have 15 minutes, but go to the 4th floor that you can now have a masterclass. So the idea of how we've built this whole event is we have a broad conversation with various different ideas or different approaches to something, and then a masterclass. The masterclasses are smaller. It gives you an opportunity to ask some more in-depth questions, and there'll be 2 masterclasses going on. The first one, which is the primary one, which is the flagship one, is the one that Simon will be doing. It's on the 4th floor. There's restrooms on the ground floor where you came in, but there's also some restrooms on the 4th floor. So you can take the elevator to the 4th floor. There's a 15-minute break between now and when it starts, but my suggestion would be if you need to use the restroom, go to the ground floor and use that because there's more capacity there. Then head up to the 4th floor. The master classes are only for people that have paid for the master classes, and you'll know that because you probably have a lanyard or you have something to that effect. I just want to thank everybody for being here, and just thank everybody for asking questions. The panelists will be available all day that you can ask them additional questions, get their cards, and hopefully book some time to meet with them one-on-one. Thank you, and the next session will be starting in about 15 minutes on the 4th floor. Thank you.